Gamescom was this past week.
Yes, there were a lot of news stories that seemed to come out of Gamescom.
Gamescom apparently is a big thing that has always been a big thing, and I've just never known about it. But I've heard that the viewership in Gamescom like skyrocketed this year. I don't know if it was Jeff Keighley. I don't know if it was a lot of games were pushing people toward, because I know World of Warcraft literally sent me a notification that said, go watch Gamescom.
Yeah, they really pushed it hard this year. I mean, Gamescom has always been a thing. It's been in Germany. I used to follow it a little bit because I would look for like, oh, let's see if this indie has like a new game coming out at Gamescom, because it's that kind of level, kind of like the PAX shows, it felt like, but a little bit bigger, right? Because it's more of an industry-wide thing. But there's kind of like Gamescom, and then like TGS, I think, was the Tokyo Game Show or something like that. That was another one of those like big ones that wasn't E3. But now, since there's no E3, several years on now, they seem to be leaning into Gamescom a little bit more. And I don't know, I think that Jeff Keighley has done something at Gamescom for a little while now, like for at least a year or two. So maybe this is finally getting critical mass. But I know a lot of people were saying like, oh yeah, usually the opening live thing from Jeff Keighley is his like weakest of the shows that he does. You know, Game Awards being the best, and then Summer Games Fest. But then this year it seemed like they were pulling out all the stops, and they had just all of the games.
Yeah, I wasn't really too impressed with the announcements on Opening Night Live, but it was definitely a big event that I had not watched in the past. But the reason I bring it up, and the reason I watched this year, is because Blizzard did not have a BlizzCon this year, so they kind of, in a way, said that Gamescom is going to be our sub-in for BlizzCon on like a lot of the announcements, particularly for World of Warcraft. And I said, okay, well, I'll watch. And they were a part of Opening Night Live with a new trailer, and then they did a lot of like, I don't know, developer panels, essentially, things that you would see at BlizzCon. But so that's what got me to watch. And I've been watching a lot of them after the fact on YouTube. But I've got to say, I'm very excited that BlizzCon was we're going to skip it this year, probably because of the whole Microsoft, Blizzard acquisition, but it's coming back next year. And I think that's a good move, because I just don't feel like what they delivered this year, even though the content was really good, the hype just wasn't there for me.
I mean, part of it is when it's your own thing, right? When it's BlizzCon, it's Blizzard's con, right? They can really get the hype train going because it's all their stuff. And so they kind of, they do the costume contest, and they do the, all the exclusive merch, and like they really have a lot more of that control. And this is like them just being part of another like trade show. So maybe that's the difference. But I think it's weird. I'm glad that they're doing BlizzCon again in the future, but I think it's weird that they didn't do a BlizzCon this year because they have this big new expansion to announce.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think it's a result of the acquisition and merger. I don't know the inner workings of what's going on there, but I could very easily see like, hey, we're not going to do it this year because we're getting rid of Blizzard's event team, and it's just becoming Xbox's event team that's going to be running it, right? Like that happens as a part of a merger, right? You get rid of or you combine certain teams, and you just say, hey, it's not possible, which unfortunate side effect of this. But, I think that could be a reason that they didn't do it. I am so excited they are doing it next year. I am seriously considering going.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, it's September 12th and 13th, 2026. That sounds like a great time.
It is on my calendar. I am just waiting for them to announce tickets or hotel booking options, and I think I'm going to go. We've talked about going to a gaming event together or just for a while. We talked about going to the Dota Internationals. We've talked about going to, I think we joked about going to the Game Awards if we could ever get in. I think BlizzCon for me is going to be a good experience to go to. And I don't know. If I'm still at least semi-interested in World of Warcraft next year, which who knows, I have no idea, but I think
there's an expansion coming out next year.
I know, but the timing, I don't know. When is BlizzCon gonna? Well, we know when BlizzCon's gonna be. We know that the expansion is coming out before June 30th. We know for a fact that it's coming out before June 30th because they have posted it due to some legal obligations they have in the EU and pre-orders and all that. So we know so I could be totally done with the expansion by whatever it is. You never know. But I have a feeling that I'm still going to be at least tangentially, interested in it. And I think BlizzCon next year would be a lot of fun to go to.
Yes, it's already on my calendar as well. So we should definitely make some plans if you want to do that.
Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 160. Jason, did you see the news about the Xbox Ally X?
I have not seen the news, but I am catching up on it. I'll be honest. They gave us a release date. Not what I guess maybe what I expected, but not. I mean, it's earlier than I thought it would be.
Really? Yeah. So the release date is October 16th of this year, October 16th, 2025. And I think that's about right for like a holiday season device. Like, what were you thinking?
I was thinking a holiday season a little bit later. I guess you're right. October 16th is probably right around the site. I don't know. I was expecting like the first week of November or something like that. When I think of holiday release, I think of November. I don't know why. That's just what I think of. Like if a game came out and we were like, hey, they're coming out for the holiday season, I think November. But you're right. October 16th is basically the same time.
Yeah, the Xbox Series X and PS5 both came out in the same week in the second week of November of 2020. So I can see why you think it that way. Yeah.
We don't have pricing yet, but we have a lot of rumors around pricing.
Okay. Yeah, I have not seen. I've only really been following the official sources. So what's the damage? What's the rumors on the pricing?
The ROG Ally X, which is the better one, would be $900.
Oof.
The lesser one would be like $550. Again, rumors, not confirmed, whatever. But these seem reasonable. I think these are plausible. I think these are like right where right where they should be. Honestly, I think they're cheaper than what I expected. I expected the ROG Ally X to be over $1,000. But I think this is good. You and I talked a couple episodes ago, probably two or so months ago, when this first got announced, we started getting details, and they said that they would be updating like Windows 11 software to basically bake a lot of this in, particularly the Xbox first kind of experience for Windows 11, and I said that I would probably get this thing.
Yes.
And I'm kind of I think I'm backtracking a little bit and saying if they upgrade the ROG Ally that I have now, I may not pull the trigger on one of these.
Okay. Well, I can say as someone who doesn't already have an ROG Ally and only has an original Steam Deck, I am keeping a very close eye on this one.
I am interested to see whether they are able to stock enough of this or like what the demand and supply is going to be. I would not be surprised if it is incredibly hard to get one for holiday 2025.
I did see something. I think part of their press release this past week was something about how they had expanded launch availability or something like that. Like they were making some kind of claim that they were doing better or going to do better with having stock at launch.
Let's hope. I mean, I think this is going to be a great handheld. I mean, I think the grip and the whole, the way you hold it is going to be perfect. I think, upgrading the Windows 11 experience to actually be suitable for a handheld is going to be great. I think being able to play Steam games and Xbox, what is it called? Game Pass games on it, without a whole bunch of tinkering is going to be awesome. I think this is going to be a great handheld. We've heard numbers on like the Switch 2 versus the Steam Deck, and it's like 100 times more, right? Like 100 times more Switches were sold than the Steam Deck,
right?
Or something along those numbers, like orders of magnitude more. And I think that if this handheld does really well, right, and is in a really good place, I genuinely think that I don't think it'll sell as well as the Switch, but I think it would be, instead of 2 orders of magnitude lower than the Switch, I think it would be more like 1 order of magnitude lower than the Switch, right? I could see this selling tens of millions of units if it is really a good device. And getting Xbox back into the hardware game, again, I don't know anything about it. I don't think it's, I'm not making a prediction, but I do think it's possible that something like this gets Xbox back into the hardware game because Xbox is not developing it, right? Like that's the
It's
key
a partner.
thing here is they're a partner and it's not their hardware, it's their brand. And honestly, I think that's a really good play.
Yeah, I mean, everybody thought that they were going to make some big announcement on the Switch 2, that they were going to do Game Pass streaming on the Switch, like so they would have a handheld. That was like a rumor a couple years ago. Obviously, that didn't happen, and they are making their own handheld in partnership with Asus, but they've been talking about handheld stuff forever with Xbox stuff, and I think this is going to be cool. I am worried about it being chunky. Just because like everything I see about it is it's a very chunky handheld, but I guess you have one and it's not that bad.
I mean, they're big for sure. I mean, they're not. I mean, even the Steam Deck is big, but I think this thing's going to be bigger just because of the way that it sits, like kind of with the controllers and all that. I think it's going to be worth the trade-off. I mean, yes, it's still mobile. Yes, it's still portable. Is it going to be a pretty large thing in your backpack? Absolutely. But I think the trade-off there is how comfortable it is to hold and play and have a controller. And I think it's going to be worth it.
All right. Well, like I said, I am keeping a very close eye on this one. I would really like it if Valve would go ahead and just announce some announcement about the Steam Deck 2. They don't have to like do the announcement, but like if they just said it's coming in 2026, that would give me enough information to know to wait. But they're not going to do that. So I don't know what I'm going to do.
I mean, does that change your thing here? I mean, if they said a Steam Deck with Steam OS is coming in 2026, do you not pull the trigger on this? I mean, I just think this is as a Windows, underlying Windows machine with Xbox Game Pass as kind of a primary way to play games plus Steam. I don't know. I just think this thing is a better solution.
Yeah, it probably is if it's good. And that's going to be the real trick is I'm not going to pre-order one of these because I have to see if it's going to be good. And if it's going to be like battery life decent and like easy to hold and all that kind of stuff. Like I do want to kind of give a little bit of a wait and see on this. Hopefully they'll do something where you can make like a pre-order and just get in line because that would just make sense. But I'm sure they won't. But I wish they will. Anyway, I just have to see because if they did do a Steam Deck 2, like if they said, here's a Steam Deck 2 with better specs, right? With like better processor and stuff. The Steam Deck works for everything you have in Steam. The thing it's missing is the Game Pass stuff. I don't know if that's enough to sway me one way or the other, especially if the Steam Deck 2 kept its kind of competitive pricing. Because the Steam Deck 1 was like, even at the highest level, was like $650 or something like that. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that this device would not be as expensive with some of the political climate, but because I mean, we're not going to talk about it here, but PlayStation 5 just had a price increase as well. So
and the Switch 1,
and I think Switch 2 is coming. I don't think it's going to maybe right before holiday season or something like that, unless things change. I don't think the Switch is going to stay at the price point it's at without a change.
Could be. I mean, I'm just glad that I got a Switch 2 and don't have to think about it or worry about it.
Yeah. Okay, well, hey, if you get one, I'm coming to see you, and
or maybe I'll come see you and bring it with me because it's portable.
Ooh, there you go for travel.
Yeah.
Okay, we only have like one other thing to talk about today, and these episodes are really hard for me. Because I like to talk about a variety of games and like lots of different things that are going on. And Gamescom just happened, so there were tons of games announcements, but like I didn't really follow any of them too closely. And it's just easiest for me to talk about what I'm actually playing. And the only thing I've been playing is World of Warcraft.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't really have anything else to talk about other than World of Warcraft, but there is a lot of talk to talk about under that umbrella that is not necessarily playing the actual game. And I think that's how I'm going to justify this.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I guess I'll also lead off with saying I did resub to World of Warcraft this past week, just for a month, just kind of giving it a try, dip my toe back in because I still don't really have enough time to play a lot, but I am, like I said, giving it a shot. And it's been fun to kind of come back in the third patch of the expansion, third and final patch of this expansion.
Yeah. Confirmed final. Yeah.
So that's been kind of fun to kind of get back in and, do the gear treadmill thing a little bit. It's been fun trying to chase that. We did a couple dungeons. We've done some delves. Like, it's been fun to play with people again. I've missed that. So I think I'm happy that I spent my $15 for this 1 month at least.
Yeah, and it's been nice having you back. Like, we just jump in a little bit. And the fact that delves are so low pressure is so nice. I think you came back and we were in a delve and you had to run for a couple minutes. And I just sat there. I opened up Wowhead and read some stuff or watched a YouTube video, and we just kind of sat in the delve, and that was totally fine. Like, it was so nice to be able to play together, play group content together, play scalable group content together that actually gave rewards that were worth something, right? Mm-hmm. All of those things combined, wrapped together, but still have a really low stress environment. Now, you and I are also playing Mythic Plus when we can.
Yes.
Which, you and I playing together, it doesn't happen, all that often, or it can't happen every day like maybe it used to be able to. But it's nice to have that fallback. These delves, I think they've delivered exactly what they were supposed to, and it's been nice to get to play with you in a low stress environment when we're not entirely sure that you can, dedicate 45 absolute focused minutes. So it's been nice.
I wonder if that, as you've been saying that, I was just thinking, could you port that experience over to dungeons if you gave it like a pause button, like a League of Legends or Dota 2 kind of thing, where you could actually just like pause the game for everybody and just make them all do nothing and gray out their screens or whatever, but then let you pause a dungeon run.
Ooh,
I don't think they would ever do
I like that idea.
It would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. Like a Dota 2 or League of Legends games that pauses and everything stops. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like that, especially because it's a cooperative experience, right? It's not competitive. A pause doesn't give you a huge competitive advantage other than like maybe we can talk about the next pull.
Sure.
But like, I don't think if it was possible, which might be really hard in a, always online MMO, not instanced, but it is kind of instanced. I get what you're saying. I think that would be a really cool idea.
Yeah. I mean, it would be hard to play with like randoms and stuff, but like if you had a group of 5 of people that you were talking to, you could say, hey, just a minute, my doorbell rang, and you could hit pause and then come back and doorbell's good. Or, somebody disconnected, which happens all the time in dungeons.
All the time. Yeah.
And like, if you could just say, all right, we'll pause for 2 minutes and see if this person comes back or whatever, like that's maybe the next thing in terms of the respect the player's time flexibility aspect that they did with delves. Maybe that's the next step.
Yeah. And it's not making the content any easier, right?
No.
Like you still have to do it within a timer. You just can't do anything if the game is paused.
Right, you can't switch your gear, you can't do anything in your spellbook. Like you can't, like we could literally gray out your screen and just say paused, and in front of.
Yeah, but Chris, what do I tell my mom if she needs me to do something? I can't tell her that I'm allowed to pause an online game.
No, you don't have to tell her that.
That would change the script, wouldn't it?
It would. Anyway, sorry, that was just a little tangent as you were talking about delves, and delves are great, and it has been fun to play together, and it's the right level of kind of chill co-op content.
You know what isn't chill is the race to world first.
Yeah, that was the exact opposite of chill.
That was the exact opposite of chill. I tend to watch the race to world first every year, but I kind of peek in, peek out, like just kind of keep my eye on it and because it's fun to watch people progress, particularly on mythic bosses, the crazy strategies they're using or whatever. Last season was super boring. Like the final boss just kind of fell over, and even
really?
like watching people stream when they were showing it, Max, who is the raid leader for Liquid, literally threw his hands up and was like, "That's it." Like he said that live on his stream, and it was so that was kind of boring. First season 1 with Ansarek and was like a 400 pull, very tough boss, but Liquid was tended to be in the lead quite a bit over their competition. This season though, oh my goodness. Liquid and Echo, the top two guilds, were neck and neck trading the lead moment to moment.
Yeah, they both had the leaderboards for each other on their own streams, and so it was kind of fun to see them like go back and forth, especially when it got close to the end. Like Liquid was in the lead for, I want to say, like a full 2 days, 3 days, something like that, and then all of a sudden Echo kind of almost did it, and then in the end Liquid won.
Yeah, I mean, Liquid was in the lead, and then they had a really bad boss, Fractalus, the fourth boss or fifth boss or something like that. They had a really tough time on for whatever reason. So Echo got the lead, and then Liquid got the lead back, and then on the last boss, honestly, within the last like 5 hours, they traded the lead like 3 times.
Oh wow!
Which is just incredible. And Echo, the team that ended up losing, had 2 pulls that were sub 0.5% back to back.
Oof.
They were so close. People are doing millions of deep damage per second, millions and millions of damage per second, and the boss had 43 million health left. I mean, it was just wild. They ended up not being able to pull it off. Liquid pulled it off. It was so exciting. It was so amazing. This is the kind of stuff that makes Race to World First so exciting. The other ones, sure, but if someone is way out in front and ahead, you're just like impressed with their ability. This was actually a race, and it was just so fun to watch.
Yeah, as we were watching it, I was thinking about the kind of excitement that it generates, because it's kind of, it is a sport, right? These people are professionals, right? They were all on his team, and they all had their little jerseys on and all that stuff. But I was kind of hearkening back to the idea of things like the LCS or the Dota International or whatever, watching these professionally casted gaming events is really fun, especially when you do it with people, especially when we were just in Discord being like, oh my gosh, they did it. Oh my gosh, they're not doing it, whatever. And that kind of communal watching of game content is fun. And I'm glad that they've done this. They've kind of eventized this whole Race to World First thing, which is interesting because it doesn't feel like Blizzard is super involved. I'm sure they are slightly involved, but they don't feel super involved to this whole thing. It just kind of happens in the game that Blizzard facilitates. And then Blizzard will patch stuff from time to time. I'm sure that there's more behind the scenes conversation than that, but not much more. It doesn't feel like. So
it's not as sponsored as MDI, which is the Mythic Dungeon International, I think it stands for. I don't know.
Invitational.
Blizzard for that invitational. Blizzard for that actually sets up servers so that all the gear is equalized across all the characters, and everything's kind of tight knit and to a T. They're not that involved. They're not that involved in the Race to World First. Race to World First is a free-for-all. Get the gear, do whatever you need to, you figure it out. Whereas MDI is Blizzard-sponsored, Blizzard private servers to play on. It is truly a very, structured race.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it feels like they're not involved. I'm sure you're right. I'm sure they have a conversation going on in Discord somewhere where they're like, hey, is this broken? Or because I've heard Max say on his stream before, while he's kind of raid leading, he said, no, we talked to Blizzard. This is the way it was intended. I know this is impossibly hard, but this is what they intended. So I know that they have some kind of conversation going on.
Yeah, that I'm sure that there's something going on, but it was really cool to watch. It's really, really fun I was always disappointed because the times when I would get on to kind of watch them, they would start to do their dinner break. The Liquid guys would do dinner. So I'd watch them for 30 minutes, and then they would go on their dinner break, and then I would go to bed. But it was fun to watch. The bits and pieces that I caught was pretty cool.
Well, I'll say it here on the show, not that anyone from Liquid listens or anyone else that is a Liquid fan, but Liquid, good game. Nice job. Congratulations. They won all 3 raids in the War Within, which I think is a huge accomplishment, but Echo is right there, right behind them. My girlfriend is an Echo fan, so she was rooting for them. I was rooting for Liquid. So it was a good rivalry. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'm a Liquid fan for Dota 2. because they're one of the few US based teams on Dota. So I was glad that Liquid was winning.
The other thing that happened in the World of Warcraft sphere, like we said at the top of the show, BlizzCon did not happen this year, but there were tons of announcements at Gamescom, including a new cinematic, the opening cinematic to the next expansion, pre-orders for the next expansion going live, which I have not done yet, and a bunch of announcements and more in-depth interviews. I really focused in on one panel, which was what they called their systems download panel, which just went over a bunch of different things that they were adding in the Midnight expansion. I focused in on really just a couple of things that impacted me. One of them was a new open world system called Prey, which whatever, it's fine. It makes open world, I guess, a little bit more interesting in that an enemy can pop out at any time and kind of start attacking you, and you maybe have to go find them and hunt them and whatever. Not super interested in that one. That one's fine. I think they're trying to make the open world a little bit more interesting and a little bit more rewarding. Fine, great, thumbs up. Next thing. The other thing that I'm really interested in, Chris, is the new Demon Hunter spec.
Oh yes.
Which called Devourer. Again, for someone that doesn't play or doesn't really care about Demon Hunter, probably not a big deal, but Demon Hunter is my main class. And I've always found that I don't really vibe well with the DPS spec of Demon Hunter. I'm a Demon Hunter tank. And this new one looks kind of interesting. I didn't get really deep into it. I didn't really research it. They posted a lot of information about it. I just kind of from a vibe check, I'm into this new spec.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen much about it other than that it's coming. I watched the 4-minute, recap video of everything announced for Midnight, just from Blizzard, which is not actually that informative. I have seen that systems thing go by on my YouTube queue, and I do want to watch it at some point, but I have not, so I am unprepared for this conversation. But I do keep seeing all of the clickbaity headlines on the YouTube videos, and I'm following those. So you'll have to bear with me and enlighten me on a lot of these things, I think.
I think that one systems video is the one thing when you get time, to watch for Midnight. They don't talk about housing at all during it. They talk about basically everything else.
Okay.
So you could watch the housing one and that one and honestly be pretty much caught up. But let's start with housing then. Player housing obviously announced quite a while ago that it was coming for the Midnight expansion. I don't know if you heard, but it was actually confirmed coming for 11.2.7, which is happening this year.
Yeah, I saw that on the roadmap. They had the little housing symbol and everybody was theorizing. They didn't know what it was, but they were theorizing that it was housing, which it was. So that's exciting. And the other thing that I saw is that if you don't have the expansion pre-ordered, you don't get to do housing, but if you do pre-order it, then you get that housing this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think housing is definitely a part of the Midnight expansion. They're just launching the feature before the expansion goes live. I really think is how they're kind of selling it. Which honestly, anyone playing and that wants to build a house is probably getting the Midnight expansion anyway. And it's just a little interesting. It really blurs the line on what pre-order means. Mm-hmm. It's kind of kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't think they've done anything quite this overt or blatant before, but they always have the pre-patch, right? And some of that is gated based on if you have the expansion or not, I think.
Right. Right.
If they have new areas or certain events and stuff, you have to have the expansion in order to, take advantage of those things. But this is months before the expansion actually comes out. They are doing this, adding this big feature to the game. And it's a big feature for a certain kind of person, but I like it because it's almost a tangible achievement hunting proof thing. So it's yet another way to do content that's not necessarily cutting edge rating.
Right. I mean, they're really starting to lean into to that, kind of player, which is cool. I mean, we've talked about it a lot with delves and open world and all of these things that you can do that are not necessarily, end game content rating or mythic dungeoning. This is just yet another thing on that path. However, I think you and I have talked about it in the past. I'm not really interested in decorating my house with decorations, but I am interested in decorating or displaying my achievements in my house. And I think you and I have made that distinction a bit. I don't care if it's a table and a chair and what the lamp looks like. I care about putting the heads of the raid bosses that I've killed up on display over the fireplace.
Right, exactly. Yes. Like when I get AOTC, let me put a thing in the house. Like that's the key.
I'll be really impressed when I walk into someone's house, and I don't know if they confirm that they're doing this, but they have mentioned that you will get some kind of credit for historical achievements. So you had AOTC in past expansions. I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of trophy or item that you could put in your house based on the AOTCs that you've achieved in the past. That would be so cool to walk into someone's house and see like all of the cutting edge achievements since the beginning of the game. Like, that would be so cool.
I haven't really been keeping up with the details on the housing, but like you can visit other people's houses. Is that how this works?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know the specifics. Obviously, they're kind of neighborhoods, and you can go to other people's neighborhoods and things like that. I don't know if there's privacy settings or anything like that. I'm not 100% up to date on how specifically it's going to work, but certainly you can visit other people's houses if you're invited to.
Right.
Whatever the definition of invited means.
Okay. I wonder if they'll do something like a thing kind of like the home instances in Guild Wars 2 where you can get something by visiting other people's houses or something. That would maybe not something valuable, but like really valuable, but like a little bit of currency of some kind or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, like guilds and whatnot can have neighborhoods, and I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but like contributing to a common goal in the neighborhood, right? Like going after quests or doing something together, or, I don't know if it's donating certain resources or gold or something. But they have said that neighborhoods will have things to chase together, which is interesting. It's fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. The other things I want to talk about for the Midnight expansion that I have found interesting. The first is some announcements we got about the raid. I don't know if you've heard these, Chris, but the raid in Midnight will actually be 3 separate raids.
Okay, but they usually do that. There's 3 like tiers or 3, point expansions that are 3 different raids.
The expansion will have season 1 will have 3 separate raids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think they've said like the first week there's going to be kind of the easier raid, like the first couple of bosses of the raid. I think what they're trying to do is get rid of the idea of a raid skip and really just turn it into there's 3 different instances of 3 different raids.
Okay.
I think they're also trying to turn the time commitment down a little bit, right? If you're in LFG and you're looking for normal raid, that's an hour and a half commitment. Even if everyone knows the boss and you're just running and stomping every single boss, it's an hour and a half commitment.
Right.
And I think they're trying to turn that down where they say, okay, you're committing to a raid wing almost. I mean, because like in LFR, when you just kind of matchmake into a raid, you're only going to a certain number of bosses, 3 or maybe 4. And I think they're trying to turn the idea of the actual raid into something that's a little bit more bite size. Again, kind of targeting that more casual player if you want, but obviously the difficulty you can ramp way up anyway. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, there's going to be 3, they've confirmed there's going to be 3 separate raids, one with like 3 bosses, one with like 3 or 4 bosses. And then the final boss is its own raid.
Wow.
So I'm very interested in if we bring it back to how that's going to impact Race to World First.
Yes. Although I think they'll probably just treat it as all of the bosses, right? I mean, that's got to be the way they break it down.
Yes, but also, like, do you go after that hardest one first? Like, do you switch it up?
Can you? Are they not gated on each other? Like,
it did not seem to indicate that they were gated on each other. They're time gated. So like they have said the first one's going to come out the first week, the second one's going to come out the second week, and the third one's going to come out the third week. But they did not say you must do the second one before you do the third one.
Oh, interesting. I don't know.
They are 3 separate raids. That's the phrase they keep using. But also, like how does this impact AOTC? Like, I mean, the obvious answer is you must get all of them down, right, in order to get AOTC. But I just think it's an interesting little shakeup. It reminds me a lot of strikes in Guild Wars 2.
Okay, yeah. Which are small.
Which were more bite-size boss encounters.
Yes. Well, that's going to shake it up a lot. Yeah, that's going to be weird.
Just going to be different. It changes World of Warcraft has been doing raids the same way for a very long time.
True. Yes.
So it shakes it up a little bit. The other thing that is massively changing, we have seen the first hint of this with the cooldown manager that has come out in 11.5, which is a very lighthearted way to replace weak auras in some of the ways you see, oh, my spells are cooling down, or, it's a little bit of an expansion of your toolbar. They are going all freaking in on trying to replace what I'll call required add-ons. The three that they really pointed out during the systems demo was damage meters. They are making a built-in damage meter, and the one thing that they have said that has been really interesting is that it will be server side managed. So like if you're out of range of someone in a raid or someone, like the raid gets split, your damage or your like DPS meter and the logs don't record what the other group is doing because it's too far away. This is going to be server side managed, so the DPS meter is like authoritative, right? Mm-hmm. There's no problem with it. So that's been really interesting. And what they showed off looks exactly like what I have on my screen.
Cool.
It looks like a damage meter that I put in the corner. So that was interesting. The second was nameplate customization. I think the jury's still out on this one for me. I don't know if but I use a very, very specific plater profile, plater being an add-on. And I think it's going to take a lot to replace that add-on.
But on the other hand, they are the kind of platform owner, so to speak, and they could just start to disallow these kinds of add-ons eventually if they just think that theirs is so good, or for other, kind of cheatery management reasons. Like, I don't know. I would be trying to use the native things as much as I could just in case that happened.
Yeah, so far they haven't seemed to indicate that they are trying to disallow or get rid of a lot of the add-ons. They have said that, hey, certain things that are add-on managed, we would really like if players express that skill more innately rather than needing an add-on to make the decision for them. But platers and nameplates and how things are displayed, they really during the presentation they really kind of leaned into the idea of add-ons are great, and if you want really, really, really fine-tuned control over how things look, keep using your add-ons. However, we don't want them to be required to play the game. And I thought that was a really good kind of goal of theirs, right? Like the first thing you do when you install World of Warcraft, if like you hit level 80, and if you want to get into any kind of endgame content, you have to download a damage meter. You have to determine whether what you're doing is actually effective or not. And the only way to do that today is to download an external program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So that's really what they were trying to say when they, at least in this particular presentation, they really tried to make it sound like, hey, we're not going after if you want add-ons, but we are going after, we feel like the game that's been out for 20 years, they're required now, and that's not the game we want to make. The last one was the most interesting to me. Now, there were the least amount of details on this one, but they showed off essentially a DBM replacement. A dungeon boss master dungeon. I don't know what it stands for, DBM. But it was something where you could build alerts and timelines on the attacks that the boss is going to do built into the game. And I was very impressed with this because DBM is like almost essential to a lot of the dungeons that are out there now. There's just so much going on. There's just so much happening. And the fact that now coming with Midnight, you can build a lot of this stuff into the game and have it be part of the game on, hey, this attack is about to come out, or hey, this, you should probably not stand in bad, or hey, there's a frontal coming, or, a lot of these things that you have built into your add-ons to warn you about things that are coming. Just being part of base game now could really raise the skill floor.
That's true. It could. But I'm not sure that it will, because I feel like everybody has at least one of these, and maybe they don't, but I feel like everybody has at least one of these, and it doesn't help. But I think the bigger story for me is what they've been saying about, like, what did they do? Like a couple of patches ago, or maybe with War Within expansion, they had like private events or whatever that like DBM couldn't tell you about. So to me, this strikes as it's getting harder and harder for us to code hard stuff for Race to World first, and Weak Auras and DBM is making it too easy. So let's take a little bit of control over this and, change it so that we can have more control, because that way they can feel less guilty about taking away things from DBM or bigwigs, and they can say, oh no, don't worry about it. We put it in our thing. And so the game can notify you of these things now, or we'll give a feed of those events to DBM or whatever. And that's just going to be the stream of stuff you get. So I see it as like, what does this change for the future of things like DBM if Blizzard wants to kind of take the reins a little bit more and have a little bit more control over some of that stuff?
Yeah, I'll slightly disagree with you and say I see it a little differently. I think they see DBM as something that everyone thinks they have to download and has to be part of their game. And I think with what they're building into the game, they have said, oh my gosh, we can't make the game harder because someone that doesn't have this add-on can't understand what is going on or what they need to do, or what the dungeon is intending them, what the mechanic is intending them to do, because they haven't downloaded the add-on. And it kind of classes players into has add-ons and doesn't have add-ons. And I think what they're able to do when they build something like this into the game is, again, if you want to continue using the add-on, you will continue to have the add-on and you can continue to use it. However, we can make the game harder for everyone, or we can make the scaling, as wide as we want to, because we know at a bare minimum, everyone playing the game will have this set of functionality, even if they don't have add-ons. And I agree with you. They were playing around with some of this private event stuff. Most of that has gone away. Like most of the rhetoric around that seems to have gone away. I don't know if they're still planning on doing it or not, but there hasn't been a whole lot of news on it since that first happened. So I don't think that maybe they were going to go that direction and they kind of backpedaled, and they said, no, instead we need to build this. We need to bring up the bottom, right? We need to make sure that the baseline is true across the whole game, whether you have add-ons or not. And I don't know, that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I see. I think I love the idea of, if you really, really want to customize, you can still go get add-ons. However, even the people that don't have add-ons have some base functionality that we think everyone should have. I really hope that that's the thing that they're going after.
I will say, from my own experience, I have my big gaming PC, and then I have my like MacBook Pro that I take with me as my laptop when I go traveling. And it is annoying to, kind of have to update add-ons on the laptop, because I don't play on the laptop that much. And if I could say, yeah, it's good enough to have whatever the vanilla stuff is with all of the new UI customization and with all of these things we just talked about, and that would be good enough to play casually-ish, like to be able to do a few mythic dungeons kind of thing on my laptop while traveling without having to think of like, oh, do I have all my add-ons? Do I have all my stuff? Like, if I could just play the game base vanilla on the go, that would be what I'm thinking.
Oh, I'm going to push you one step further, Chris. You ready for this?
Yeah, okay.
Something we haven't talked about that has been hugely successful is the one-button rotation.
Oh, yeah.
You get the Ally, the Xbox ROG Ally X. You have movement on your D-pad, your stick, right? And you have the right trigger as your one-button rotation. You have all your add-ons built into the game. It's a Windows PC in your hands with an Xbox controller. You've got a casual WoW setup in your hands.
Yeah, it's funny because when I said on the go, I had the same kind of thought of, man, this is maybe setting it up for something with handheld and stuff and Game Pass and whatnot. I have played with we talked about it a little bit. I've played with the Steam Deck with whatever that add-on is that gives you controller mappings for all of your WoW stuff. And now with that new single button thing, this was before that came out, that would be a huge game changer. I would actually rather have it be on the A button or maybe the X button or something, because I want the triggers to do tab targeting.
Oh, yeah, okay. That makes sense. Yep.
You know, so that I'm moving around, I can turn the camera, then I can tab target with my triggers and then press some other button to do.
I mean, how many skills do you have access to on your buttons if you don't have a single button rotation?
Too many, because I play with the MMO mouse, right? So I have 12 buttons on my thumb, and I have them all with shifts as well, and about half of them I have control keycords as well. So like,
right,
I have
on
I don't
a
know,
handheld, you only have 10, 12 maybe.
Yeah, the thing that they do on handhelds is they do like radial menus where you like push and hold a button while you do the stick to a certain angle, kind of a thing, which is imprecise, right? If you're having to do anything fast, so that doesn't really work.
Yeah, but imagine a world where, like, as a mage, right, you've got your major cooldowns, right? Imagine where you have 4 major cooldowns on a radial menu. That's a lot more
easy.
precise. Radial up, down, left, right, right? You've got your D-pad, you've got maybe your Y button and one other button. And then in a lot of cases I've seen where if you hold the trigger and press one of those buttons, right, you've got a different skill. So you've got a couple of things where you're, you have some access to some special thing. I mean, you throw your interrupt on Y or whatever, but we're already out of casual territory if you're interrupting things.
Wow.
Right. But I think you could really easily get a very good experience on a handheld with the one button rotation, with things being built in, with, damage. I mean, even in that case, do you even need a damage meter? But I think they're really, really moving towards a game that is not competitive, but is very nicely playable on a handheld.
All right. Well, hearkening back to the beginning of this episode, you're now making me really want an ROG Ally X, Xbox ROG Ally X, because that sounds amazing.
Right? Doesn't it? Like doing delves, doing open world out, on your handheld while laying in bed. Oh yes, I'm all about that.
I might have to revive my Steam Deck setup and just see how it works, because that did, like, the management, like the downloading of it and like the launcher and everything running on SteamOS actually did work just fine. It was just I didn't do anything with add-ons, I don't think, because again it was hard, except for this one. So I'll have to give that a try, because now with the one button thing, that could be a game changer.
Okay, well, I apologize for monopolizing this episode with some World of Warcraft. I guess we talked a little bit about the Xbox Ally X, but then we wrapped it back around and said this is a World of Warcraft topic. But that's really what's happening in my world right now. And Chris, I'm so glad you decided to resub, because even though you're not playing as much as you have been in the past, it is nice to have been able to just get to play just a little bit with you. So, as we have said over and over again, World of Warcraft does actually have casual content that is rewarding now. So even if you can't play as much as you have been, it's been nice to get you in and getting to do some of that content together.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I am glad that I did it. So I'm glad that I'm catching the 2 weeks that you're playing WoW, or 2 months or whatever it is, and then we can all take a break again until Player Housing comes out in the fall after this. Yeah,
we'll have to see if I sub a second month, because I've only subbed for 1 month so far, and I know you have too. So we'll see. Well, I mean, so we only talked about WoW. If there were other things that happened at Gamescom that maybe I should know about, I mean, we do know about Silksong. Don't get me wrong. We knew that it was announced, and maybe we'll talk about it in a little bit. But if we missed anything from Gamescom, and you think we should have talked about it, we can talk about it next time. And you can let us know by going to our Discord, which you can get to at discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find any of our older episodes or read our show notes, you can visit our website at pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying the show, we would love if you could share it with some others that might enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Jason, I'm traveling again. I feel like I'm traveling all the time, but I'm traveling again. But this time, I have a Switch 2.
I was going to say, good thing you have a Switch 2.
Yeah. Last trip that I was on, I think I had just gotten the Switch 2 and only Mario Kart was out for it. So I basically had a Switch 2 with Mario Kart on it. Now I have a Switch 2 that has Mario Kart and DK Bonanza on it. So it's a much better kind of content situation on the Switch 2. And also, as is my tradition, I have picked up a game for the road to give a try as I go.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I think I've mentioned in the past that I had one more Switch 1 game voucher burning a hole in my pocket from when I bought Echoes of Wisdom last year, I think it was. So I have one that expires in October. And the season is coming where all of the launch titles, I guess you would call them, launch window stuff that they announced with the Switch 2 for all of the Switch 1 upgrades is coming. So Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a Switch 1 game. It's that Kirby game where Kirby could like eat the car. You know, he could like suck in the car and like it stretched Kirby awkwardly over the car and you could like control the car. Anyway, that's the one thing that I remember seeing in any of the media about that game. But that game is getting a Switch 2 upgrade. So it's a Switch 2 edition plus a little bit of like DLC stuff. So this is a paid upgrade to it. But the base game was a Switch 1 game and it was $60 and on the voucher thing. So I went ahead and I redeemed a voucher for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And then I immediately bought the $20 Switch 2 upgrade to Starcross World, which is their Switch 2 upgrade thing. I have not played it yet, but I am looking forward to giving it a try on this trip. It comes out this Friday as we record. It comes out like the day after this episode posts. It will be out.
Do you think this is a similar game to DK Bonanza and Mario Odyssey? I mean, is it the same? I mean, are you going to have the same experience? Or I mean, I've never played a Kirby game, so I guess I'm a little lost in looking for where this fits in that whole genre.
Kirby started out as a 2D platformer. I always liked the Kirby Super Nintendo games because I never had a Super Nintendo, so they all looked really cool. Because, you know, Kirby can suck into enemies and get their powers, and then you can have cool stuff that you can do with Kirby. Most of my exposure to Kirby was through Smash Brothers, actually, where he can do the same thing, right? Suck people in and take their powers. So this is a 3D platformer. So Kirby started as a 2D platformer, but this is a 3D platformer. And it's not the same. I've played the demo. So I played the demo of this game a couple months ago. And it was pretty fun. They have a way to make it like they have a switch kind of like DK where it's like, do you want it to be hard or do you want it to be easy? So hard is just like normal and easy is just way too easy. So I went ahead and yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. I think it'll be good. And I think that the Switch 2, from what I've seen, the Switch 2 kind of upgrades to it will also make it nice. Because it got the treatment, right, where they did the proper like graphics improvements and stuff like that for the Switch 2.
Have you finished DK Bonanza?
No, I am close. I think I am like about to go to the final world of DK Bonanza, and I've heard that the ending is really good, so I've been like saving it to sit down and do that. But I did play a little bit of it yesterday, and I am inching my way towards the end.
So are you gonna finish it before you start Kirby?
Probably. Well, probably. Because I have
okay.
I have a big flight before Kirby comes out, so I might just have DK done on the flight.
Okay.
Otherwise, all bets are off.
I mean, you have to finish it, Chris. Come on.
That's true. I mean, I will. I will finish DK. I actually think probably by our next episode, I will have finished DK. I'll put that flag in the ground right now.
Of the two of us, you're the one that finishes games.
That's true. I will finish this one. I will.